we were all kind of in this burnout, just continue to go, wake up, do the same thing, go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing. And now it's heightened. And now as business owners, we are looking at getting back into business, but in a different way.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. At Tap the Potential, we know that you want to be freed from the constant demands of your business. In order to do that, you need a business that supports your life. The problem is you have a cash-sucking business taking over your life, leaving you frustrated and discouraged. We believe work supports life, not the other way around. We understand you're paying a team and you're still having to do it all. There should be accountability. It shouldn't be this hard, which is why through our proprietary coaching system, we help thousands of business owners just like you have more time for what's important to them and grow profit by 300 to 800%. Here's how we do it. First, take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Next, meet with our success team lead to debrief your results. Then, join our Better Business, Better Life program. By the end of your first year with us, you will have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had before. So take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment so you can stop working so hard for so little return. Take your life back. We've recorded this in the midst of the coronavirus event and found these interviews truly applicable to all major change events. We must lead with love through adversity, focusing on our vision and continuing to have our work support our life. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist at Tap the Potential, and this special episode of Self-Care and Strategy for Entrepreneurs is being specifically produced for you, our profit designers, on the Profit by Design podcast. Profit designers, at Tap the Potential, we are on a mission right now to be a positive force in social media during trying times for all of us entrepreneurs. In that regard, I would love it if you could help us out. We really want to get behind any of you who are doing good things in your communities, showing up and leading with love. If you are doing something to keep your team together during this time and you're sharing it in social media, or you come across another entrepreneur who is being a gift from their gift in some way that you notice, please use the hashtags Lead with Love and Be a Gift. Our team at Tap the Potential is on the lookout in social media for those hashtags, and we will be reposting those social media posts from the Tap the Potential social media. Let's all lead with love, be a gift, and shine bright during these trying times.
I'm your host, the business psychologist at tapthepotential.com. My name is Dr. Sabrina Starling, and we have had a number of really amazing guests here in the last few weeks. People have been so generous with their expertise in coming forward and supporting our entrepreneurial community at Tap the Potential through the coronavirus event. Today's guest is Dr. Nancy Trimboli. I am so excited that she is here with us. I have been working with Dr. Nancy for several years, and she has been a significant person in our Tap the Potential community who has advocated for entrepreneurial health. She's the owner and lead chiropractor in her own business for the last 25 years. Her gift is to take complex health topics and reduce them to usable, actionable bites. She believes that making simple life changes will have a profound effect on your strength and resilience, your craft and creativity, your relationships, your work, and your future. She has a large local patient following and an ever-expanding online audience who are eager to get their hands on her new book, Stealth Health, Take Back Your Power and Unravel the Mystery of You. Stealth Health takes a bold, fresh look at understanding your own health challenges by asking better questions and recruiting your own health arsenal of trusted resources. It is written for those of us who know there is a better way towards health than medication, but don't quite know what that better way is. Observing isolation herself, Dr. Nancy created the Self-Health Isolation Survival Pack, a 12-unit mini course of practical changes to make now while we have this gift of time in isolation. While we're waiting for Dr. Nancy to join us, I just want to comment on some good reminders for you as we are dealing with the stress coronavirus in our businesses. I know many of us are now starting to face the question of opening up business, partially reopening, when that will happen. There's a lot of considerations in those questions. And first and foremost, it is very important for us entrepreneurs to be taking care of ourselves during this time. And so all those good self-care strategies that we've been talking about here in these Facebook Lives are still very important. Getting plenty of sleep, getting our exercise, doing the things that we need to do daily, our veggies first to take care of ourselves. And that's a big part of surviving isolation, which I'm sure Dr. Nancy will be talking about with us as she comes back in. The other thing, though, that I think is important for us to be considering is, again, our life vision. And we are trying to drive our business. So the decisions that we are making currently, we want to make sure that we're making the ones that get us through, but also that move us directly towards our vision. And that is critical as we start looking at questions of how do we start ramping back up gradually in our business, or if some of us are ramping back up fully, what do those things look like? So one of the things that I know has been on a lot of people's minds is the question of hiring and how to hire. So I just want to direct everyone, if you haven't listened yet, go to the Profit by Design podcast and listen to our episode with Erin Longmoon that we did. And we talked about different ways to plan your hiring strategy, taking into account that you may have reduced revenue currently in your business. And how do you get ready to hire those key team members that you want to bring on as your business starts to grow? So Erin and Mike Bruno and I got into a great discussion around that. One of the concerns that I have is that if you have been in a reduced mode of operation for a month or two, getting back up to speed is going to be a big challenge. Getting your team ready to come back up to speed is going to be a big challenge. So one of the things that I would recommend is starting to put some more structure back in place in your life if that has kind of fallen by the wayside. So, getting up in the morning at a set time, starting your day at a set time, getting your team members back into a routine will also support that. And I think now is a great time to go into our topic of dealing with isolation and surviving that. So with that in mind, I've been talking a lot about entrepreneurial burnout, and it's a real experience that many entrepreneurs had, and it existed before we had the stress of coronavirus. And now we're looking at, we have a new normal that we get to create. And there's a big question in front of all of us entrepreneurs, and that is what we might choose. And I know you have some thoughts on this, and you believe we have options. So I would love to hear your thinking around this.
Yeah, it's interesting that your focus this year is entrepreneurial burnout. And even before all of this happened, so we were already in a state of overwhelm, and not just entrepreneurs and business owners, but teachers were in a state of overwhelm. Some parents were in a state. I think we were all kind of in this burnout, just continue to go, wake up, do the same thing, go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing. And now it's heightened. And now as business owners, we are looking at getting back into business, but in a different way. And what does that look like? What's the first day going to look like? So, in my perspective, we have a choice, and we can choose to go back as we were, burnt out, doing too much, not engaging our staff enough, or whatever it was, or we can make some simple choices right now. And I developed a course while I was in isolation. My business closed down for 2.5 weeks, and I wanted to reach out to my people and give them some tools to use they could implement into their life that were simple 5-minute fixes to change just old habits so that they could look back on this time in isolation as a time where they emerged from their depression, where they started to lose weight, where their relationships deepened instead of just surviving and struggling through. And I have a few notes here that we as humans are not meant to do a number of things. And you as a psychiatrist know that we are not meant to live in this fight or flight state constantly. Our nervous system is wired to be one way or another. It's either wired to be in fight or flight, where we are ready to run from the proverbial saber-toothed tiger, or we are in a state called the parasympathetic state. It's where we are relaxed, we're creative, we're socializing, and we are also more in tune with inner knowing, and we're also able to digest better. And if we are looking to conceive more easily, we as humans now don't live in that parasympathetic state. We live in this fight state. Also, as humans, we are meant to be social. So you're coming into the social isolation with burnout, with overload, overwhelm, and then we're isolated, and that's not normal for humans. And then we're wearing the mask, so you can't see people's expressions.
That's wild. I have to say, as a psychologist, when I read faces, when I'm in public or in social settings, it drives me nuts not to see half the face. There's a lot of social cues being missed.
A lot. And I know personally for me, a lot of it is we connect. Are we on the same page? Like, did I just say something to offend you? Because I can't tell. Because are you smiling or are you frowning? Yeah, and it creates some of this like deep, for me, some pain at some points. And I have to ask, hey, what's happening behind that mask? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on with this. The reptilian brain of ours is being like, it's our foundation. It's, it goes back to like our home, our security, our safety. It's almost like that's being like, it's like an earthquake going on with us. Mm-hmm. So, but what's fascinating for me, I have taught the group at our Breakthroughs on the Bayou that there's definitely one way that you can switch yourself from this fight or flight, anxious state to the relaxed state. And the way you can do that is through breathing, through the breath. Breathing is an unconscious thing. We don't have to think about breathing. But on the other hand, it is also conscious, and it is one of the few autonomic organs, autonomic meaning automatic, it's one of the few autonomic organs that we can consciously control. Well, you can't control your pancreas, you can't control your kidneys, but you can control your lungs and your breathing. So that's one of the ways you can get yourself out of this chaotic anxiety state. And the problem with it, you might think, well, I have a little anxiety, whatever. You stay in that state consistently, and it will lead to memory loss, dementia, inability to properly digest your food, which means then you're losing crucial nutrients, which also feed your brain, your body, and your immune system, and heart disease, hardening of the arteries, chronic inflammation. So just being in this anxious state, you might think, oh, whatever. Not whatever. It means that long term, you're going to be more and more and more ill.
So it is not sustainable for us to stay in that state for a long period of time. And what I'm aware of for myself is I believe so many of us are addicted to the adrenaline of the go, go, go lifestyle. And especially as entrepreneurs, we just crank it out and we go, go, go. And when we slow down, it feels very disconcerting because it's a new normal, it's a new reality. And we have now a really sharp contrast between go, go, go and go really slow. We have that gap. And so as we come back into let's create our new normal, let's look at what are some good things that we've learned as we've slowed down, and what are some things that we used to do, ways of being that we're not going to do anymore because, like you're pointing out, and like I talk about, it's not healthy. It's not sustainable. We're doing long-term damage to our bodies, to our relationships, to our families, and to our businesses. That's the other thing, is we fool ourselves when we are in that place of adrenaline and cortisol rushing through our bodies. We fool ourselves about the quality of the decisions we're making and the choices we're making. We're not making good choices. We're making choices that get us through the moment. But, tying back into the survival trap image here, many of our choices that we make from that place of adrenaline rush, fight or flight mode, pull us away from our long-term vision.
That's a big part of it too, is the decision making, because when you're in fight or flight, there is blood going to your muscles to flee, but there's not blood flow as much getting to the thinking, the prefrontal cortex portion of our brain. So our decisions, our actions are reactionary for the current second, the moment in time, not with vision and forethought like we should be having.
Yes.
Good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know as we talk about veggies first and doing the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves, you have some thoughts around how this actually relates to profit first and some of the learning that those of us who use profit first have experienced. Do you want to share that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been using profit first for I think 3+ years now, and I'm in your small group, which is called Better Business, Better Life program. And I see new members come in and they're like, I don't know if I could do profit first account, like put that money aside, ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. And the whole thing is you start small, you start tiny, you start with 1%. So, and that's the way it is for making changes in these rutted habits we have that are so ingrained in our personal being, our family life, our homes. And I bring this up a lot on my Stealth Health Isolation Survival Pack course, that it's okay to just start with just a little bit. Just do this one thing. Mm-hmm. And then when I see then now our profit first small business owners, they run into a truly mind-altering, unexpected thing like this. And those of us that have had this profit first in place for a while, we've got a buffer.
Yeah.
And we can coast for a little while. And we don't have, I see it with those that are in our group and our breakthroughs group from the retreat, that we're all walking around like, don't say it too loud, but I'm not that freaked out.
Exactly. That's exactly it, because you described it so perfectly. When we start profit first in our businesses, we feel like we don't have the margin to put that 1% into the profit account. That feels like that's just asking too much. It feels like, well, that's going to be a stretch, but it's starting small. And at its core, profit first is a habit. And so even as we've, been talking with our business owners about, if your revenue is dropping, don't stop profit first. Keep the habit in place. If you have to drop your percentages back, okay, but continue to make those contributions. Because of profit first, a number of our clients are not freaking out right now. There is margin. There's a margin of safety built up in the business. These learnings apply in our personal life as well. As a matter of fact, when Mike Michalowicz wrote Profit First, he was inspired by watching somebody talk about diet on TV late night in the middle of the night when he was having his own entrepreneurial burnout meltdown and dealing with some very tough stuff. And he realized, it really comes down to small amounts and putting money into smaller plates, so to speak. But also when it comes to dieting, when we eat off of smaller plates, things are more manageable. So everything is about habit. And we're looking at how do we create new habits here. So it's about starting small, that 1% change. And in your Stealth Health Survival Pack, it's full of those 1% changes. And I really believe, Dr. Nancy, it's not about picking the right one. It's about picking one.
Yeah, just a one. Yes.
Say more about that.
Well, just the breathing thing, just taking that moment, taking that 1 or 2 minutes when you're feeling flustered and just saying, you know what, I'm going to sit here for 60 seconds and I'm going to breathe in for a count of 6 and breathe out for a count of 6. That's just one little thing. And I call it a 5-minute fix. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. It takes 2 minutes. The other thing, and we were talking about veggies first. I have a literal veggies first unit on my Stealth Health Isolation Pack, and it's called Add a Big Bowl. That's your lesson of the day. Add a big bowl. And what I mean by a big bowl is a big salad bowl. Like find a bowl that you like, and once a day, put greens in it. Put greens, put string beans, put carrots. Put all that kind of good stuff that you know you should be eating. And now that we have these gorgeous fruits and vegetables at the grocery store, I don't know if you've noticed this, but because the restaurants aren't getting them, we're getting them. And there's so much good produce out there, and you just shop and get ideas and put a big bowl in your life. And here's the other thing too about that. When you add one thing that's good, you eliminate the space for the bad thing. So if you add a big bowl in your life of vegetables, well, you know what? The potato chips are going to have to wait because my big bowl comes first. And you just think about that one habit every day, that one thing every day. Oh, where's my big bowl today? There it is. What am I going to put in it? There, that's what I'm going to put in it. Don't have to make it extravagant. It is going to take you 5 minutes. So it is going to take you longer than opening a bag of chips. But over time, your body will start to get more of the nutrients that it needs. One of the other things I talk about with eating, and I don't go into this in my isolation pack, but eating is another way to flip us from stressed and anxious, flight or fight, to what's called the feed and breed or the relaxation state. When you chew, if you chew and you're sitting still and you have a nice view and your eating partner is not upsetting you and you're not watching something upsetting on TV or overly dramatic on TV while you're eating, your body turns on that parasympathetic nervous system mode and you will assimilate better and you will get your nutrients. And if you're eating well, if you're eating clean, it also starts to create a pattern with your digestive system. So you're eating slowly. I know you and I have a joke, chew 32, it'll change your life. So each bite, I started to do this. This is the first change I made in isolation was, I'm going to chew each bite 32 times because you know what? I've got at least an hour to eat my lunch.
There's more time, so why not?
So why not? And I'm going to tell you, it really will change your life if you chew each bite 32 times. Now, I started with 24 because 32 seemed like a lot. And I don't even count to 24. I count to 8 3 times because my mind wanders. So I count to 8 3 times. And I don't want to be overly graphic about what goes on with your mouth when you're chewing, but the food actually starts to liquefy as you move it around in your mouth and continue to chew the same bite 24 to 32 times. And it's so good for your digestive system, and it's so good for your nervous system because it slows you down and you can think more clearly and you're really helping yourself. It sounds nutty, it sounds silly, but that's how I roll. These little simple things, like you say.
Yeah, it's not nutty and it's not silly because, if you think about how we entrepreneurs typically eat, we're typing away at our computer. We're shoving in food, type some more, run to a Zoom call these days. That's kind of everybody's reality. And when we slow down and we chew our food, and I have only made it to 32 times once. So I have a long ways to go. I started small, 8 to 10 chews, and I'm working my way up. But one of the things that it does is it slows everything down. And when we slow down like that, it creates space for thoughts to happen, for creativity. Great ideas, our ability to innovate as entrepreneurs happen in space, not crunched in between thoughts, words, actions. And so I think COVID-19 has given all of us that opportunity to create more space in our life for life rather than work and run to this and run to that because, really work supports life. It's not the other way around. So, if you're hearing Dr. Nancy and I talk about chewing food 32 times and you're thinking that's nuts, I don't think I could do that. Start with 8, start with 10. And like Dr. Nancy said, work up, do your repetitions of 8. The same thing for, this is why journaling is so healthy for us, is because we are handwriting longhand, and it slows our thinking down and it creates that space between thoughts. So the other thing that I'm reminded of is when I started yoga years ago, and I just became so aware of how the instructor was allowing us to have space between the different poses. I was like, I could do all of these poses in 15 minutes. I don't really need a 45-minute class. I could just go boom, 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 boom. But what happens when you go from downward dog to another pose really fast? You get a little lightheaded and you get kind of disoriented. It just made me aware that I, in my life, being a busy entrepreneur, had cut out transition space in my life. And so those transitions that we put in between things also create more space for us.
The other thing it does, being a yogi myself, when you take a moment to check in with, let's say, how one side of your body feels after doing a one-sided pose before you do the other side, you can feel the difference. You can feel the change. And I think that's one of the things that's so key when you're adding new, better habits, is to reflect back and say, what is different? Because when you can recognize, like in yoga, my ribs are open on my right side compared to the left. Or man, my right leg feels like a foot longer than my left. Or, I can turn my neck better to that one side. Let me do the other side so it'll be even. So we can reflect back to these better habits, and we can say now, related to small de-stressing habits we can do and how it relates to our business, like, that meeting went really well because I wasn't a bulldozer. Or when I let my staff have some laugh time and I'm not trying to overly control, we all just get along better and we get more done. So when you can learn to reflect back on changes that you made, I think it's really powerful then. You're not just doing these changes because somebody told you to do them or you told yourself you're going to do them. You're reflecting. It's super powerful.
It is. So, Dr. Nancy, what are you noticing that shifted in the mindset of people regarding health with COVID-19?
Right. That it is paramount. Health is paramount. It doesn't matter your education, how many degrees you have, what kind of car you drive, how many millions of dollars your business brings in a year. If you've got underlying health issues, you are a target and possibly a victim of this COVID-19. Even controlled health conditions, and by controlled, I mean controlled by medication. Like there's a specific blood pressure medication that made the cells of your body a better target for the virus to attach to. If you had controlled diabetes, you were a target. So going to the next level of, what is health? Well, what's true health? Like we can't even call it health anymore because people thought they were healthy when merely they had syndromes or issues that were controlled by a medication. True health is underlying wellness. And my book, which you can see behind me, is launching right now. And it took me actually 3 years to write, but it's eerily perfect for this time because in Stealth Health, the book, I talk about that exact thing. Taking back our power and knowledge of our own health so that we can truly find health, and it's not in a pill bottle. We've been kind of taught or tricked to believe that that's what healthcare is, but there's so much more to it that we can take part in to achieve true healing.
So I just want to say, I have had the privilege to be an early reader of your book. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that the importance we need to be placing on taking responsibility for our health, asking those powerful questions about our health, and not relying on media, the pharmaceutical industry, to make decisions and choices. Even our government and leaders we cannot trust their guidance. We have to be responsible for our own health choices and how do we create underlying wellness for ourselves. And so what's so beautiful about Stealth Health is it is a guide to how to be that powerful questioner for your own health, how to go out and investigate and find your own answers. Because as we've seen in recent weeks, there's a lot of confusing misinformation out there about how to be healthy, especially in the age of COVID-19.
Yeah, I try to ignore it. It's hard to ignore because it comes from all directions. I'm blessed to be healthy. I'm back at work, wearing our masks and our gloves. Makes it more difficult, but I'm glad to be back to see my patients. And there's so many things coming from all different directions, vitamin C and hydrochloroquine and vitamin D. We need to do more research, and there's 24 vaccines in development. Wow, it's overwhelming even just trying to pick one thing to do well for yourself. And every day it's some brand new, this simple thing you need to do. Well, all of those may be perfectly valid, but not all of those are perfectly valid for everyone. And that's the tricky thing, is that we are unique. Our own makeup, our own genetic background, our own health history, even our ancestral background is going to play a part in everything related to our well-being and health. So that's where I talk about in Stealth Health, the difference between vitalistic viewpoint and mechanistic viewpoint is what conventional medicine does, and it gives you a diagnosis or a label, and then that's what's treated. Whereas vitalistic care, which is like chiropractic, homeopathy, naturopathy, those healing arts address the individual. And so it's a paradigm flip. So I say to all those things that are out there, yes, what is right for you? I don't know for you, all you hundreds of people that may be listening, but there is more than likely a pathway for you to discover what is right for you.
So as we're on that pathway to discovering what is individually right for each of us, what are some things we should be paying attention to let us know we're on the right track?
Well, what my theory is about doing research is you cannot go in to Mr. Google and ask Mr. Google a question. Any internet search I have found either brings you back around to the mechanistic way of thinking, because there's a lot of money and influence on that in that pathway. What you need to do is you need to start your search by finding a podcast, finding a book, finding an expert, a documentary that resonates with you and that you can follow a pathway in that way. I'm developing some coursework where we can then take the next step into discovering what's best. But you really start to ask those powerful questions. And the first powerful question is, what if I could heal? Like, just because you've been labeled with this diagnosis doesn't mean you have to keep that forever. What if you could heal? And then asking the why, what about me and my individual makeup is pertinent here. And then it does take, like you said, some responsibility, some investigating, some learning. All this stuff can be learned by us individually, and taking back our power to heal by using the knowledge that we discover as we learn and check into different resources. Because one good resource will lead to another, leads to another, leads to another. There's a lot of people out there like me who are helping people discover a better way towards health.
So that's a key point, is one good resource will lead to another, into another, into another. Starting with a Google search will typically get us right into traditional healthcare, a lot of money put towards the pharmaceutical industry. So when Dr. Nancy talks about, there's a lot of money behind this, what shows up in the Google search will be the most popular searches, the ones that have the most advertising money behind them. That's what's going to show up in a Google search. which probably is not going to serve us well. So stealth health is all about asking those powerful questions and then how to create that trail for yourself of good, solid resources. And it is about just kind of unraveling the mystery and taking, one person that you talk to, learning from them, and what other resources can they turn you on to unravel this mystery. And I think that, just ties right into with what we're dealing with COVID-19 and looking for answers. So what specific things can we be doing right now? And we've already started to touch on some of these. What are some more specific things we can do to reduce our own feelings of overwhelm and the effects of stress on us, and just really get our health, get to that state where we can be as healthy as possible during these times?
Another thing I talk about in the Stealth Health Isolation Pack course, and going along the line of asking better questions, our interpersonal relationships, are all cooped up with each other. One of the better questions I have my audience hold as we are engaging with others in our life and our household, the question is, what can I do to help? So I have a funny story about this. I don't clean my own house, okay? I know that's appalling to some people, but I've never been good at cleaning. I have a house cleaner, and now I haven't had a house cleaner for like 6 weeks. So my husband and I decided this week we were going to clean the house. I would dust, and he would follow up and vacuum. We were doing great, no problems, until I wanted to flip a rug in the opposite direction of what it was, because it was getting a little worn in one spot. Oh my goodness, it was almost like there was like a World War III going to start. So I don't know, maybe I wasn't explaining right. Who knows? I took a step back. I said, what can I do to help? And I just shut up. I just closed my mouth. And he said, well, you could tell me why you want to do that. So I explained it. And he said, okay. Completely diffused what could have been like an very uncomfortable rest of the day. And that's one of the points I bring up in my isolation pack. But this is a habit to bring that question up when you're going to fight or flight. You're going to get your nails out and your claws out, but making that into a habit. And
what can I do to help? What can I do to support? What support do you need from me? Those are all questions that, in the context of, if you're cooped up in your home together, it's a great question to throw out when tension starts to get high, but also on our teams. When we have team members who are showing signs of stress, if you're in a team meeting and someone is getting upset, asking, what support do you need, or what can I do to help, is a great question. We want to be creating those safe, supported environments.
And I have to give you credit for that, because you're the one that taught me how to do that in your Coach Approach course. And of course, in our small business, Better Business, Better Life program.
So I just, in support of what you're saying, Dr. Nancy, I've previewed what's in that Stealth Health Isolation Survival Pack. And I was in a group with others who previewed that, and we all agreed that is tremendously valuable. And it's not so much taking one tip. It is what happens when we take one tip and we apply it in our lives. That's where the real value is that we're going to experience. And you've created that course in such a way that we are much more likely to utilize the information that is there to have that life-changing impact. And these are things that we can do right now in isolation, that they're good habits to get in place that are going to serve us long-term for many years to come. And just to give an example of how powerful this is in our lives, when I was in college, I had to take a PE course. I was not a very active person. I did not exercise. I was not in any sports consistently. I played a little tennis, but not consistently. And we had to we had to walk or jog a certain distance within a certain period of time. I don't know what it was, but it required me to stretch outside my comfort zone and start a daily walking habit. I was in my early 20s, in my late 40s now. So 20 something years later, I still walk about 5 days a week. One thing that I did, one habit, life-changing impact. So, and that's what's in this Stealth Health Isolation Survival Pack. So I really encourage you. You can get it by going to drnancy.health. There are free downloads there. You want to download the 5-minute fixes. When you download that, you will have the option at that point to purchase the Stealth Health Isolation Survival Pack for $57. And it's tremendously valuable. Don't just purchase it, pick something and do it and make a life-changing habit.
That's right.
So as we wrap up for today, I also want to remind our entrepreneurial community at Tap the Potential of some resources that we have available for you. I think it's a critical time right now for you to get a handle on your own level of entrepreneurial burnout. Yeah, take our assessment, and you're going to learn what impact your business is having on your life right now. Is it impacting you positively, or is it creating symptoms of burnout in your life? And if so, you will also have the opportunity to assess your business and look at what parts of your business are contributing to that experience of entrepreneurial burnout. So you can take our assessment. There is no charge for it. You can take that at tapthepotential.com/assessment. And you will also have the opportunity to debrief your results with a member of our strategic team and to talk about the impact that your business is having on your life and what changes you can make and look at making. This is such a critical time because everything business as usual is off the table. We're all experiencing, this is ours to create. So how do we want to create our lives? How do we want to create our businesses going forward? And that assessment will help you do that. Dr. Nancy, as we go out today, I'm going to throw you a curveball question. I'm really curious, what is the one habit that you've added most recently that's had a big impact for you?
Well, let's see. I already mentioned Chew 32 or 24, adding a big bowl to my life. I think those have been significant. And also, I've upped my yoga practice. I do yoga not every night, but probably 5 nights a week. Since I've been home, I have gotten actually stronger. I've been doing more weight workouts and just with a pair of dumbbells and some blood flow restriction bands. So I think the biggest thing for me, though, is the big bowl. That is something that I was good at eating vegetables before, but now I'm great at it.
I love it. I'm great at eating vegetables.
Veggies first.
That's awesome. Thank you again, Dr. Nancy.
Bye for now.
If you're like most business owners, you have a cash-sucking business that's taking over your life. After the first year in our Better Business, Better Life program at Tap the Potential, you'll have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had. Get started. Take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. Share your thoughts on today's episode, ask us questions, and let us know what you want to hear about next. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to access resources from our sponsors and tools we've created for you. Subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to right now. There's a subscribe button right there. Go ahead and hit it so that you always get a notification when we release a new episode. And finally, share our podcast with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.